And welcome back to our In Focus discussion tonight. You know, it was over 50 years ago, not much over 50 years though, but yeah, 5 decades ago, Dennis Hayes, Wisconsin Senator Gaylor Nelson, they started a movement to speak out against the ravages of industrialization. This is a pretty radical message at the time. It was a movement that sparked the creation of Earth Day. Now, climate change is the top issue for many in 2021, and Earth Day remains a focal point to bring awareness to the many environmental issues that our planet faces. So tonight we're talking to activists and government officials on the state of Utah's environment, keeping it local here. Joining us first is Raquel Juarez of Fridays for Future. And Raquel, thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so let's start by having you talk about what actions you took in high school. You started early to bring awareness to climate change.
Right, so I heard from my exchange student, a friend who came from Italy who was striking out of this huge global climate strike started by Greta Thunberg. She was a 16-year-old girl standing outside of the Swedish parliament trying to get awareness and to get the parliament into the Paris Climate Agreement. And so what she did was she started striking outside of her that parliament and wants everyone else to do it. And out of that came this huge movement. Millions of strikers are around the world, thousands every Friday. And that's what we started doing. I had a total of 57 strikes every Friday, trying to keep that consistency up. And it's picked up by young people along the way.
So when you talk about strikes, talk about what you did as a high school student and then what the reaction was.
Yeah, so basically it's not like all glam and everything. People think that they're gonna go out there and do something quick and it's gonna be the thing that breaks everything. But unfortunately that's not the case. It's standing outside in snow, it's being in the wind, it's being in the really hot sun, and there's not a glam and glory in that. People think people are going to flip you off, people are going to say nasty things, but ultimately those are the people that you need to have the conversation with when you're standing outside. That's all I did, was stand outside of the Capitol every Friday doing that. And out of that, I've made a lot of connections and have helped connect these people who are actually planning for this Earth Day event now. So that's what kind of came out of that too.
And I know we're in such a divided age, just sort of, did you convince anybody? Do you feel like everybody's already in their camp? Or what do you think happened when you did those strikes and got the visibility for your message?
You know, everyone comes from their own backgrounds. You can be a school teacher. We've had people that have been doing this for decades, but a lot of the time it's the youth. The youth tend to have a better understanding, or they actually get this quicker. When it comes to the climate crisis, they see that this is an issue that it's urgent, and according to the IPCC, is stating that we have less than a decade to decrease these emissions, or else we're going to face more hurricanes, more droughts, more disasters, climate disasters, and ultimately this is going to be the lives of these future generations that are coming to be. This is why it's a youth-led movement, and that's how a lot of these young people have come together, feeling, you know, it shows that it's a failure, you know, in itself when these kids that, you know, have come into this world are being left with this planet that's been just degraded. So.
Yeah, and I know that Earth Day is the one day every year that people know about, right? So does it have significance to you? Does it mean anything different this year? I guess we had COVID, so maybe talk about Earth Day in 2021.
That's a good question. You know, I mean, the question had said, every day is Earth Day. But I really think that we need to think about this as a climate crisis, an emergency. But unfortunately, that's not what we're acting like today in this world at all. We're still funding these fossil fuel companies. We're still subsidizing these things that are essentially making our, you know, our whole country and world, we are really throwing ourselves in the gutter, and we're not leaving much for these future generations to look forward to.
So what should folks be thinking about on Earth Day? It's obviously, on the one hand, it's a sort of basic message. On the other hand, it's incredibly complicated when you get in the economics of folks who maybe have other views on this. I mean, it's Earth Day, right? You have one message, maybe one day to get people's attention. What should they be thinking about?
You know, ultimately, we're always talking about what can we do like individually. Yes, you can go vegan, vegetarian, which has the least amount of carbon and greenhouse gas emissions compared to everything that you drive. Yes, that's one thing you can do individually and good, you know, good for you. But ultimately, we are way past individual change. We need to make systemic change, change that is going to stop subsidizing these companies, these handful of companies that are funding this climate catastrophe. So essentially what I want to tell people is to get involved, be present at the strikes, and know that this is a marathon. This is not going to happen overnight. The people that have been doing this before these young generations came have been doing this for decades, and virtually no change has made. So what we're looking for is unprecedented change in human history. And so we need all hands in. This can no longer be a debate, and we need to start having this conversation and not continuing how we have been before.
So it sounds like you have a message that it's gone beyond the individual. If someone's at home and doesn't maybe necessarily feel like getting involved in activism, but they quietly, without anybody watching, just because they want to leave the planet better than they found it, what can we do as individuals?
Yeah, kind of like how I said, the most you can do, I mean, when you look at comparatively to all the transportation sectors combined, what we eat actually has more effect than all those things together. And we're always looking at things like how do we decrease, how do we recycle more, how do we do these little, how can I change my car to an electric vehicle? Unfortunately, that's not really available for a lot of people. And so there's little things you can do, and you know, 70% of the world lives on a vegetarian diet just because the fact that they can't sustain a meat living diet. And the reason we can here, the reason you can buy a $3 quarter pounder is because it's subsidized heavily, so you can get it very cheaply. So anyways, that's the one thing you can do individually, but remember that this is systemic change, and ask the question, you know, why are we subsidizing Max, these burgers, or why are we subsidizing these fossil fuel companies instead of these green companies that can be making it easier for me to get my electric vehicle or get a nice salad for really cheap? Like, why is the world the way it is today? And think back to that too.
You're inspiring a lot of young folks to think that way. Raquel Juarez, you're 2 years out of high school?
Yeah, I graduated in 2019.
I have a feeling this is not the last we're going to hear from you. So Raquel Juarez, founder of Fridays for Future, thank you so much for coming on our show.
Thanks. You have a good day.
All right, you do the same. And thanks for staying with us for our second In Focus discussion tonight. It's on Earth Day in Utah. Joining us now, Shelley, the newly appointed director of the Utah Department of Environmental Quality. And Kim, it's great to have you join us tonight. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, let's talk about Earth Day. What does it signify to DEQ? Is it just a day on the calendar, or is this an important event?
Oh, it's absolutely an important day for us. You know, DEQ is committed to protecting our environment every day of the year, and Earth Day is significant because it gives us an opportunity to highlight our work and engage the community in actions they can take to protect our air, land, and water. It's an important day, and we want Utahns to be invested in protecting and improving our environment year-round.
And you say year-round. How would you say our air quality is right now? I know we're getting out of winter when we get those really tough inversions. When you hear folks complain about this, I know it's the topic everyone talks about. Are we improving?
We are, absolutely. And right now our data indicates that our air quality is good. The spring season is usually the best time of year for our air quality, and it's typically when we're in between our winter inversion season and our summer ozone season. You know, overall, Utah's air quality has been improving over the past 20 years and even more significantly over the past 10. So much so that the Wasatch Front was recognized by EPA in 2019 as having met our federal air quality standards for PM 2.5. This is the pollution that causes our wintertime inversions. So it's a major milestone for Utah, and it means that we are moving in the right direction. But we have to continue to maintain this momentum and even increase our efforts if we want to see continued improvement alongside with our state's rapid population growth.
So what are we doing right? We're exploding as a state. Folks are moving from all over. We still have those bad inversion days. How do you prove to the average person out there that we're improving? The data exists. but what if they say I don't buy it?
That's fair. Well, that's where the science comes in. And I also say that, people have in Utah have been adaptable. They have gone to telework. They have left their cars at home. They've embraced mass transit. They've ridden their bikes. E-bikes are more popular. They've incorporated many of the tools that we have to improve air quality, including our, reducing their idling as well. It's just all these little things really add up. And also industry has taken a significant role as well and really reduced the number of pollutants in our airshed. So it's been a collected effort that everyone has made a difference.
Yeah, well, the public often looks to government, to lead the way in environmental issues, and it's through policy and it's through regulation. You did mention idling, that's an important one, but what's on your docket now for enforcing laws like the idling laws or keeping our environment safer? What can you do to make tangible progress?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And, it's working in concert with other municipalities across the state and organizations. So we not only enforce our state and federal regulations, we also work with the local entities who have their own ordinances. So for example, Salt Lake City has the idling ordinance that they enforce, and that has been a really great success. We really think that Utah does a great job of finding Utah solutions for Utah problems. And in fact, Utah has been a leader in environmental regulations. In fact, we even had our Clean Air Act and our Clean Water Act well before the federal government had theirs developed. So I'm really proud of that Utah has valued our environment and our natural resources.
Okay, speaking of natural resources, let's talk about our kids, right? They're our most valuable asset, right? I've got kids. You go on the school bus and all that exhaust puffs out. Well, you've recently purchased some electric school buses, so talk about that in the context of climate improvement and some of the direct action that I guess you have control over.
That's right. So through our Clean Diesel Grant Program, Salt Lake City School District was able to purchase 4 electric school buses that are now serving students in the Rose Park area. And eventually the district hopes to convert up to 75% of their bus fleet to electric. And this is significant because vehicles contribute to over 50% of the total emissions. So by reducing the number of gas or diesel powered vehicles on the road, we'll improve our air quality. And our clean diesel program is available to fleet owners who want to upgrade their vehicles or non-road equipment like forklifts and mining equipment. And we hope to see more and more schools and businesses take advantage of the program. In addition, we have a number of programs that incentivize individuals and communities to reduce emissions and their carbon footprint. So for example, we had a lawnmower exchange program a couple of weeks ago that gave rebates to individuals willing to upgrade their lawnmowers to electric. And these rebates were up to $300, and individuals receiving government assistance were able to receive a free electric lawnmower. So running a gas lawnmower for an hour is equivalent to driving a car for 64 miles. So that's another way that we are directly reducing these emissions. We have a number of similar programs for individuals and businesses, and we encourage anyone who is interested to visit deq.utah.gov for more information on these incentive-based programs.
Wow, the lawnmower thing, very interesting. We got about 20 seconds. Final thoughts?
Thanks for the opportunity. We would encourage everyone to do your part in protecting Utah and the environment and celebrate Earth Day every day of the year.
Sounds like, in contrast to our last guest, you really do want to promote every individual can make a difference. And I'm sure that's probably something that Raquel believes as well. So, okay, thank you, Kimberly Shelley, Director of the Utah Department of Environmental Quality, the Executive Director. We appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
Welcome back to our third and final In Focus discussion tonight. It's on Earth Day in Utah, and we're joined by Carmen Valdez, the grassroots organizer for Heal Utah. Carmen, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me tonight.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate your time. So give us an update on our current air quality situation across Utah, like where we're improving and maybe where we need to do a little bit more work.
Yeah, so throughout Utah, we are still struggling with our air quality despite the beautiful year we've had and maybe less inversions than what we're used to. But our numbers are looking better for PM 2.5, as Kim mentioned, which are those particles that stick inside your body. But that's mainly due to favorable weather patterns that have impacted our inversion and really less people commuting during the pandemic, both for work and out for adventures. So with less pollution being emitted, we have better air quality. But if we have really dry winters and a really dry spring like we're having, we can possibly see an increase in inversion throughout the summer. But we also have ozone issues throughout other parts of our state. In northern Utah and the Uinta Basin, our ozone pollution, which is a summertime issue you don't see often, it's actually so bad that the American Lung Association came out with their State of the Air report today. And Salt Lake, Provo, and Orem area was number 8 on that list for ozone problems. So that's worst areas for ozone. And, this is all something that we need to take as a change. It's not something we can change overnight. We saw a better year because we had a full year of people working from home and changing their patterns and being outside less. But that means that we have to change our patterns in the future too, and continue to drive less and take public transportation or ride our bikes and find safer streets to ride on. So there's still a lot of work that we can do at a personal level and at a state level. Continuing to support people working from home will really increase our chances of bettering our air quality in the future.
Yeah, Carmen, I think there's a big question out there. How much is this going to get corrected? You think about like the market correcting as far as companies bringing people back into work versus staying at home. So I think that'll have a big impact. But I digress. Earth Day, Heal Utah. What events do you have planned? What does it mean to heal Utah?
Yeah, so Heal Utah, the Healthy Environment Alliance for Utah, means, like what everyone else has been saying, this is something that we commit to every single day, but we really enjoy the emphasis and when we get a whole day to talk about things we can do to better our earth. This isn't a local day. This isn't something that was created a couple years ago. It's the 51st year, and this is a global event. So everyone across the world is trying to do something, trying to learn a little bit more, and to be a little more of an advocate for our earth and where we're living, whether that's in terms of standing up and protesting like our awesome youth, or going to the Utah State Capitol and lobbying your legislators and meeting with them and telling them the concerns you're having. So Earth Day for Utah means just kind of reminding you that you have opportunities, and there's nonprofits and groups and fantastic government organizations that are out there committed to protecting our environment. And they want your involvement. They want the public to be there because ultimately it's everyone who's impacted by poor air quality and changing climate. So we all have to be involved, and that's important for HEAL.
We mentioned the pandemic, right? So you mentioned lockdown, telecommuting during the pandemic. I do want to talk about that a little bit more. So you talked about that probably improved air quality. What happened, and what would you prognosticate is going to happen next?
Yeah, so there has been research. There's fantastic research being done up at the University of Utah, and they do this every single year, and the Department of Environmental Quality, monitor our air every single day. And so with the pandemic and those changes, I think it allows an opportunity for businesses to really think about their commitment to where they want to be as well. So if a company says they want to move towards being green and energy friendly and focusing on the earth, then they need to make sure that their employees are able to do the exact same thing. Because if not, then they're just still keeping that systemic thing going, and instead of really enforcing change from within their company and not just saying they support Earth Day.
And that's, of course, balancing with, can this company do what they need to do efficiently, which I think a lot of companies are realizing that they can. Okay, what can people do every day to improve our climate? It's Earth Day. Let's talk about that message.
Yes, that's a really important message. And everyone has kind of the same ideas, but really it is those small things that help lead a change for businesses, right? Because if we decide that these larger organizations are, not earth friendly, we may choose to not shop with them anymore, or to go with them, or to work with them. So small things include driving less, riding your bike, and adopting recycling methods. We all know using your reusable bag, conserving water, especially in the desert, shopping wisely. So taking a look at how your consumption relates to the earth and its impact. But also some fun things that you can do during the spring include like planting native plants in your yard, including beautiful trees that can give you fantastic cooler air and clean the air at the same time. as well as planting incredibly diverse native flowers that help our bee populations and therefore help our food supply. And both of these, there's government and nonprofit organizations that can help you get these for free and teach you how to care for these items and ultimately make your neighborhood, your home, and your city and earth a little bit more beautiful and a little bit cooler and a little bit cleaner. But most importantly,
my producer's telling me that we have to go, Carmen. You're amazing. There's something so therapeutic about planting and dealing with that as well with the green thumb action. I've been getting into maybe trying to keep plants alive. So thank you very much. We have to go, but Carmen Valdez, grassroots organizer of Heal Utah. Thanks again.
Thanks so much.
Okay, appreciate you.